Coming at you from the frozen tundra that is East Central Alberta, Canada, streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, Float, Odyssey, Telegram, Twitch, and the Prepper Broadcast Network, as well as TikTok this evening. Hello, folks over there. Welcome back to the workshop where we create community, find freedom, promote preparedness, and share success. I am Toolman Tim, and today is October 26th, 2022, and this is episode 192 of the Workshop Podcast. Man, it seems like it's been forever since we've been on the podcast, but really it was just Monday morning. So how is everybody? Renegade Butcher, already throwing out the shade this evening, wants to know what my favorite maple syrup dish is. We will star that, and we will get back to that later on, because I always have to answer those Canadian questions, eh? So how has everybody been? It has been a busy week. I am 9 days away from leaving for yet another road trip to the States, trying to get everything tied up, hopefully before snow country hits here. But anyway, that's, it is what it is. We're heading into November, and I'm in Alberta, so I guess we should expect it by now. Okay, 3 quick announcements. Actually, we got a couple extras this week, but we're going to knock them out quick. Patch of the Month Club. You guys have heard me plug it like crazy. Just need to hear from the subscribers. Sounds like Canada Post may have done me real dirty, and some of the patches did not make it there. I'm working on some alternative shipping methods because I do not like Canada Post, as my buddy Chris Dixon knows very well. He doesn't either. But anyway, not something we enjoy, and if it's an issue, you know I'll make it right. Just want to see who didn't get theirs, and I will send you out your missing patch along with the new patch as soon as they get here. Okay, number 2, episode 200 is going to hit while I'm gone, but that's fine. I am looking forward to episode 250. To me, that is a milestone. Looks like it's going to happen around February, the 1st of February, which is cool because I always do a big giveaway anyway for Groundhog Day. Howdy, Jem. I see somebody just dropped by. We got a whole bunch of people coming through in TikTok. So episode 250 is going to be right around Groundhog Day. So we're going to do a massive kind of celebration giveaway. So a couple of things, guys. Number 1, if you have any ideas as to what you'd like me to do, send them my way. And if you'd like to be part of it, you don't necessarily have to donate or give anything as a giveaway, but if you just want to be part of the celebration, let me know. But if you want to throw something in, I would love to do just a massive celebration for that. So it'd be really, really cool. Hey, Mike from Snail Creek Homestead, how are you? Renegade Butcher says work is picking up at the deer shop. Yes, 'tis the season for that. Absolutely. Let's see. Episode 200, Patch of the Month Club, Prepper Broadcast Network, guys. This is Thursday night. We are also live over there. I'd like you to support my family at PBN, all my fellow content creators. If you're always struggling to find good new podcasts and you haven't subscribed to Prepper Broadcast Network in your podcast feed, why not? They're incredible. There's so many good people over there. You got Ryan and Colin from the Next Generation podcast. You got James from the I Am Liberty. You got Matter of Facts podcast and a whole bunch more. So if you're looking for a lot of freedom-minded podcasts based around preparedness and all things like that, then add them to your podcast feed, guys. Today's tool is the TRU-BLU pipe sealant. If you follow me on social, you know what I have been working on, and it is just that. I am installing the gas lines to my garage so I can have permanent heat in my garage. And if you haven't used TRU-BLU pipe sealant, that shit is awesome. Works for water and for gas lines. It's about $10 for a little tub like that. You just paint it on and it kind of fills its way into the gaps in between the threads. I just love it. And finally, guys, here is the shirt of the week. You want to see that? Not participating in your new normal. You can see that over on TikTok as well. Came from my buddy John Willis at originalsoegear.com or at SOE Tactical. If you guys are looking for some pretty cool and obviously politically incorrect shirts, that's the place to go. Oh, and I got to give a shout out, guys. Nate and Aaron from Two Chicks Homestead. They have a podcast of their own. Follow them, but they launched their own Telegram group today, and we're kind of giving them the workshop hug today, sending people that way. So if you're looking for another group to interact in, always somewhere to go. Let's have a sip of the good old fashioned. All right. So Renegade Butcher says we need Tim's voice on Waze. You know what? I'm going to sound like an old man. I don't know what Waze is, but that's totally fine. So we're going to start out tonight, guys. I believe it was my buddy Carl Brown over on Prepper Broadcast Network that shared this story. And it was a news story, came from Bloomberg News. So whether you respect it or not, it came from a place that people recognize anyway. But the title said, New York, New England rations heating oil even before peak winter. Now, here's the thing, guys. I just recorded an episode. It's going to come up in a little while. And it's about how, hey, Rhonda Welch, how are you? It's all about how I do not like to spend a lot of time talking about politics and talking about news stories, because we can get caught up in the fear mongering and all of that jazz that's no good at all. It's not good for anybody, because all we do is we end up focusing on fear. We don't focus on solutions. But from occasion, I will come across certain news stories that I'm like, hey, we should probably be paying attention to this. That's about it. Kind of like the rolling blackouts. I wanted to go back there. You guys remember at the beginning of summer how the entire friggin' world was scared that we were going to have rolling blackouts all summer? Well, how'd that work out for most people? Most people I talked to, no issue at all. I mean, were there blackouts? Sure, there were some, but it wasn't like CNN and Fox News were telling you that the entire world was going to be suffering from rolling blackouts. Now, we have other issues we're dealing with now, but that was something everybody was absolutely scared about at the moment. Hey, Letty Lou, shout out to Martinson family. Good to have you. So remember, most things that we worry about never come to pass. That's the first thing. But this story caught my attention because you guys know I do a lot of talking about the systems of the home and things that we look after, doing our own maintenance, making sure we have fuel on hand. So this story kind of jumped up and grabbed me. But the first thing I need to share with you guys is, remember, going to holler out to White Guard over on TikTok. Bonjour, they said. Good to have you. So the first thing, guys, is information helps get rid of fear. Now, focusing on it altogether can end up ruining you. It can put you down in a bad rabbit hole. But we're going to do tonight, the same thing I did a few months ago when it came to the rolling blackouts. Dig into the story, find the truth behind it, focus on solutions, and then move on, because we're all people who are into preparedness at different walks in the journey in our life, and we're going to see how we can work through things like this without getting lost in the fear of it, because that does nothing for nobody. But remember, most things we worry about never even happens. But so here's the thing. And of course, they love to use the word ration in the headlines because, oh, that's so scary. I can't have what I need, blah, 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 right? Legitimate. That word ration scares the shit out of people, because what does it do? Automatically harkens back to a time long before us during World War II when there was nothing for nobody. Here's the deal. They're not rationing to customers. You can walk into any retailer. Okay, let's back up a little bit first, because furnace oil, if you don't know, very similar to diesel. We're going to talk about that. 1/3 of the East Coast, kind of the New England area and the Maritime provinces in Canada, 1/3 of the homes use heating oil, which is a form of diesel, to heat their homes, right? So that's an issue. But as far as the entire continent goes, it's really not. But I wanted to use this as a use case because we have a lot of followers over on that way. That's the area I grew up. We always had fuel oil or furnace oil as a backup source of heat in our home. So I wanted to chat about it a little bit. White Gurus, White over on TikTok says, I worry about many things, but I don't. That's okay. Yeah. So first off, they're not rationing to customers. Impact Nation, good to have you, my friend. What they are doing is they are delivering fuel to retailers based on past purchases, that sort of thing. So you may not get all you ask for, but you are going to get some. There's no place right now where you could walk in and they'll say, sorry, you're only allowed this much. Where's your ration card? That's not the issue. So what are some solutions we can look at? We're going to work our way through this article. We're going to talk about it. We're going to see what we can end up. And these kind of points of view definitely are an issue. This is something that works for whether you're talking about natural gas, propane, wood, electricity. You know, there's different ways we can look at this. But so if you are getting some sort of liquid fuel that gets delivered to your house, get on automatic delivery. Never let it get low. I know the price can get a little out of hand sometimes, but keeping it topped up ends up not costing you as much. Now, it would have been nice if I'd have seen this article a month ago, but what do we always say? The second best time to grow a tree is today. So the best time to fill up would be now, of course, if you can. But early fall, late summer is always the best time to fill up heating oil or any of that type of thing to take advantage of those locked in kind of prices. And now here's the thing. Furnace oil is available all across the area. You may find certain retailers that have sold out of it because this is a self-fulfilling prophecy, guys. When you read these articles, people get scared and they're like, oh shit, I got to go out and get it. So then people run out and get it. And then that causes a shortage. So you may need to shop around a little bit. Check 3 or 4 places before you're going to get the fuel you need. Again, it's just how we have to deal with situations like this. Another thing, you guys have heard me say, 2 is 1, 1 is none, 3 is a guarantee. Always have a backup heat source. That should just go without saying anyway. I mean, I live on the prairies. If our heat goes out, it's minutes or maybe an hour or 2 before things get real serious. If you live somewhere where it's a little warmer, not as big a deal. But always have some sort of backup, even if that's one of those little buddy or big buddy propane heaters, guys. You just want to have some way to heat yourself just in case. Now, here's the thing. I told you about this. If you are one of the people that lives on the East Coast and you heat with furnace oil, you probably know this. But if you're a new homeowner or somebody who is just getting into it or just moved to the East Coast, in a pinch, you can burn diesel too. They're basically the same thing. Even found some articles talking about just that from suppliers. So here's the thing. I found this quote for you. Diesel is sold at many gas stations is an acceptable replacement for home heating oil in virtually all furnaces. Both diesel and heating oil number 2 are mid-level or mid-weight distillations of petroleum that produce roughly the same amount of heat and can be burned by the same systems. But do not end up getting that confused with gasoline. Okay, guys? Anyway, let's move on. Now, there isn't a shortage of furnace oil, even though they say they're rationing it. There isn't. What there is a supply issue right now. So the product exists. They just can't get it to market fast enough. What's going on right now is there's a couple of things. So I wanted to dig in. Delivery. So the delivery of furnace oil right now is being priced higher than further down the road. That's not always the case. So when that happens, people are like, well, you know what? I'll wait a little while to take delivery because the price right now is too much money. So the retailers are playing this game. The guys that bring it in bulk, they're playing the game as well. So sometimes it can't hurt to just sit on it for a little while and wait, because what they're going to do is they're going to say, oh shit, you know what? I'm not selling the stuff because I'm price gouging, because this has happened all the time. White Run Guard says furnace oil is basically gasoline. It isn't. It's similar, but do not mix the two up. Gasoline is way more volatile. Do not use gasoline in your furnace. You can use diesel in your furnace and furnace oil, but just don't use gasoline. Otherwise, you get yourself in real trouble. But that's okay. Hey, I see my daughter over on TikTok. How are you, sweetheart? So yeah, another thing, price is up 60% over last year. Everybody's been using whatever has happened the last few years to raise prices. Artificially inflated? Possibly. However, the price is up quite a bit right now. So what that's doing to retailers is they're feeling the pinch in their credit line. So what's happening is they used to be able to buy, say, 1,000 liters of it. Now that same dollar can only buy 600 liters of fuel. Again, it puts a pinch on the retailers. Everybody's feeling it. Customers are buying less because the price is up. There's more supply on the way. They said there's a pipeline, a full pipeline that's starting to pump, and there's cargo heading to the region. So right now, it seems like a waiting game. If I had to do it, if I had to make, let's put it this way. If you put a gun to my head and said, Tim, make a choice, I would almost say, if you have enough furnace oil right now, I'd sit on it for a little bit and buy some in a month, because my guess is it looks like the price is going to come down because supply is going to slide into things a little bit better. But if it gets really fucking cold this winter and the European sanctions get really bad, I don't know where to go with it. But I would say if you have enough, just wait a little while. It looks like the price is going to come down. But they always love to scare you with that price, with that word of ration, right? And White Run Guard says, your father's very smart, but I don't know what he's talking about right now. And that's always okay. So this is just one of those situations about fuel. Now, I hope that didn't go over everybody's head, but I thought this was something we needed to talk about a bit because people get scared, but we got to slide back and remember, hey, just because you might be worried you can't get enough fuel or whatever to heat your house, doing the normal preparations, everything that a sensible person would do is going to prepare you for situations like this. So let's slide on from that article. I didn't want to spend too much time diving into it. I just wanted to throw a few things at you so that you could know, hey, Tim said it's not really rationing, because it's not. It doesn't mean things might not get a little bit worse at times. But again, if we're always living the prepared lifestyle, we're always taking another step forward, then it helps relieve a ton of that stress off of everybody's shoulders. Something we talk about all the time in the workshop. So, and I wanted to share with you guys one more tip. A lot of times when I'm researching these shows, you'll come across these articles and be like, oh, hey, you've read 3 articles this month. You can't read this one for free anymore. Well, I'm not about to subscribe to 17 different newspapers. I'm not going to give them my money if I don't have to. These articles have been free on Google News for years. Now, all of a sudden, a lot of them are putting up paywalls. If you want to support one, go ahead. I'm not going to. The news is out there. You can get it in a lot of different places. But these guys in particular, if you just put your browser in incognito mode, it almost always will allow you to read the articles. So do with that what you will, workshop peoples. Yes, and Renegade Butcher says rationing doesn't matter if you have a private stockpile. Right. We don't, what do we call it, stockpile? Yeah, well, we don't call it hoarding, right? Because when you buy things ahead of time to make sure your family and your loved ones are taken care of, that's called being prudent. That is something that families did for generations upon generations. Now, if you run out when there is a shortage and buy absolutely everything and then try to sell it to other people, that's called being a dickhead. Don't do that. So be prudent, buy things ahead of time. So, fill your supply tanks when you can afford it. Don't put yourself in the poorhouse. And then that's called being rational and a prudent person. And White Run Guard says Canada has a strategic stockpile of maple syrup. Renegade Butcher will be very happy with that one. So I wanted to share with you guys today an interaction we had over on the Telegram group. You guys know I love our Telegram group. We have a great community of workshop members over there where we chat back and forth. So I shared this story and I wanted to share some positivity that came out of it. But I also wanted to share some of the, ups and downs that we all go through when we're trying to be just a little more prepared and looking out for life in general. 250 likes over on TikTok. Thank you, folks, for coming through and hitting the like button. So Chicken Duck, I love that name. I don't even know where that name came from, but it doesn't matter. We got talking about this furnace oil thing, and they said, I got all my wood stacked plus some extra for the winter. So it doesn't really matter what happens. But sometimes I get pissed off that I'm not further in the direction that I want to go. But the fact that heating prices, food prices, gas prices have hardly affected my household just shows how far disconnected we have come from society's nonsense. It's important to look back where we've come from, right? Because it's so easy sometimes, guys, to focus on what we haven't done yet, what we haven't done at all. And that can beat you down. It can, kind of take the enjoyment out of life. And you're like, oh man, I just feel like I got to do more and more and more, but you don't. Every step you've taken has taken you one more step toward living a prepared lifestyle, being more self-resilient, self-reliant, and all of that. So, when we get those blues, when it kind of hangs over our head a little bit, and we're like, shit, I need to do more. Well, you know what? Maybe we do, but stop for a minute, give yourself a break and say, oh man, I've done a lot. I should be proud of this because damn it, I have, and I am, and I'm do more yet, but just don't ever feel overwhelmed if you can help it. It's easy to get bogged down in worrying about how far you have to go. But here's the thing. Every step you've taken brings you a little further on the road. And of course, every step you take puts you that much further ahead of all the unprepared average public that's out there. But like I said to them the other day, just take a deep breath and realize, hey, anything you do is better than what most people aren't doing, right? And Aaron from Two Chicks Homestead, always love to plug them. said, such good advice. She said, it's hard to remember how far and further we are than most that we've gotten. It's good just to stop and actually enjoy life without worrying or prepping. Now, here's the thing, guys. We all talk about preparedness. We all talk about prepping. And these stories, these news stories, like, oh, it's the end of the world. But no, well, you know what? Circle of influence, circle of concern. We sit down and we think, okay, what can I actually change in life? What can I actually change by worrying? Because I can promise you, worldwide shortages, you cannot change based on worrying on them. So focus again, like Aaron said, on how far you've come, any of the little steps. Like I've told the story before, but way, way back when I first started prepping and I had my, I had some mustard pickles and some strawberry jam. And I thought, there, I can survive the end of the world. How funny is that? But I'd made steps. I was proud. So just remember that. And this was something else I wanted to share with you guys. This came from a fellow Canuck, and they said a lot of people are not actually living when they get into the prepping space. It seems like for a period of time when they realize the whole world isn't right. And then sometimes people get stuck in that. So there's two ways. I always say fear is a great long-term motivator when it comes to prepping. Sorry. Slide back, Tim. Somebody's going to cut that and turn that in. No, fear is a great short-term motivator. It gets you, a lot of people get brought into the preparedness space by something like Y2K or 2012 or COVID or whatever the fuck you want to talk about. But the problem is, you get nervous. You're like, oh, I got to fix something. But then when whatever the issue is you're scared of never happens, you're like, oh, all right, let's go back to living my head up my ass kind of life all the time. Or the other people end up sliding into, oh yeah, you know what? Being prepared isn't a bad idea. So let's live with it. Let's work with it. So you got two things. You either get into it because you're scared to death and then you drop out, or you get into it and you're like, oh, okay. But sometimes you just get so focused, you get those blinders on, you think, okay, it's time. I need to absolutely just prep. Just be busy doing all the prepper things. And then you're too fucking busy to worry about living life. You stop taking your kids places. You're like, okay, I'm going to sit in my bunker and eat my MREs and do absolutely nothing because the world's going to, no, we all need to live. We need to build businesses. We need to spend time with our family. We need to live, love, and laugh, whatever the hell that is. But you need to have a good time. You absolutely need to, right? Steve says, some parts of the country, it will be cheaper to use electric space heaters than heating oil. You are 100% correct. And if that's the case, that might be a choice that some people have to use. Maybe look at some of those mini splits. My parents have put those in out east, and they've worked really, really well. Renegade says, I don't need it much here, but propane is my backup for heat. Again, it never hurts to have a backup. All right, so let's slide in. So I've got a few questions I took from YouTube this week. White Run Guard says, live in long-term fear. Tim, yeah, see, they quoted me because I misquoted what I meant to say. No. Hey, Kentucky Sustainable Life Living. Good to have you. Mike says I'm going to bring this up. We have 3 years of wood cut. Wood stove is burning right now. And I'll bet you, if you guys go and follow Mike over on Snail Creek Homestead on YouTube, you'll see some pretty cool concoctions he's come up with for cooking on wood stoves. He has a really neat arm that kind of swings out and lets him put the frying pan right in the wood firebox. It's really cool. But Mike is a man of 1,000 inventions, so check him out for sure. But it's like a wood stove. Having a pile of wood is like money in the bank, because if it's stored properly, it's not going to rot. Have it tarped, have good air going through, but look out for it. And you're never going to say, oh man, I wish I hadn't cut so much wood. It's always good to have extra wood on hand for sure. Derek, hey Derek, good to have you. He says, main heat here is propane, but when I rebuilt this house, I put an electric baseboard in each room. Again, why not? You might not want to run electric baseboards off of a gas powered generator, but hey, if you're having trouble getting propane, or if your propane system goes down, then you've got that electric backup. All right. So first one, this one was kind of funny. I had to share this with you guys. If you guys, I love to talk about generators. I had somebody share with me. If you guys, a few years ago, or about a year ago, I did a review on the Gen tent. It was that $159 tent that you can buy that mounts onto your generator. Suits a very specific purpose, and it's priced for that. Well, this person sent me a suggestion, I want to say. And they said, let's see if I can find it here. They said, go to Walmart to the camping aisle. look for the kiddie tents. They are cheap. The kind for indoor camping. They might have a unicorn or a dragon on it, but the price is well worth it. They typically use flex rod to each corner. They're self-standing design. Cut the bottom out. After putting it together, now plop it over the gen set. Ta-da! Stick it to the ground. One cheap rain cover. We have the green turtle version. $159 is legal robbery for the generator tent. Well, I had a few thoughts on that. First off, I love the ingenuity of taking a kid's tent and putting it over a generator. If that's all you have and that's what you want to use, all the power to you. I get it. I love people coming up with ideas outside the box. But here's the thing. That gen tent is $159. And it's designed for people who don't have a place to store their generator outdoors and let it run. But here's the thing. A kiddie tent isn't made with heat-resistant, melt-resistant type material. That's number one. The gen tent has a see-through window, so you can see your controls. It has a flap for filling up the gas, and it's wind and snow rated. Does it justify the $159 price tag? Well, that's up to you. But comparing a little kid's tent to a gen tent that has been third-party verified to, protect your investment. If I'm spending $1,000 or $2,000 on a generator and I can't keep it outdoors in a building, that's kind of an oxymoron, then I'm probably going to spend a little extra on the gen tent. Love the idea of having a green turtle version, but I just had to kind of jump in on that a little bit and talk about how they're not exactly the same thing. If that's all you have or that's what you want to use, great. But the gen tent was absolutely designed for its purpose and been tested for it. White Run Guard says, Tim, my fingers hurt from liking. I can't stop. Well, they got me to 3,500 likes on this live stream, so I absolutely appreciate it. All right, next one. Let's slide into another one here. Okay, we got this one came from Dev over on YouTube. They said, this was a question I didn't exactly know the answer to. If you guys have followed me before, I have hooked up my generator to natural gas. So I reached out to Furman to ask them. And they said, if the generator dies for whatever reason, so say it just stalls and you've got natural gas flowing to it, is there some sort of safety device in the generator that stops the natural gas from flowing? Well, here's the deal. There isn't. So I reached out to Furman to ask them, and they said, no, the natural gas flow will continue to flow until your natural gas shutoff is closed. There's a plunger in the diaphragm to stop fuel from reaching the cylinder, but the only way to actually contain natural gas flowing to a generator is to reach down and shut that quarter turn ball valve off. So I hope that helps. I was pretty sure that was the answer because I've had it running before and turned it off and forgot to turn the gas off for a minute, and it keeps flowing through. So again, some of these setups are for worst case scenario. Just remember that. Be careful. It's just like hooking up natural gas to a barbecue. If you have your burners open and you turn your gas on, but it's not lit, it's just going to keep flowing. Propane's the same way. So just pay attention. Hey, Daniel, good to have you. Just seen Daniel joined over on TikTok. All right, this one was from Hector from Puerto Rico. I can't pronounce that very well, but I try. I said, hey, Tim, new guy here, living in the south part of Puerto Rico. I can relate to everything you say about diesel generators. I'd like you to comment on the Yamaha diesel generator. It's a 7,000 watt generator. Said most of our homes are small loads with less than 6,000 watts. So if you could find a good example for me that would work, he said, it'll be great for some millions of guys that live here. He said, I'll take it and spread the information for you. So I did that video about a year ago talking about the benefits of a diesel generator, in certain instances. And that came out of a conversation I had with Mike from the Philippines. He's in and out of the community sometimes. I've seen him a bunch. And there are, Chris Dixon says you got to roll your R's. Yeah, I can't roll my R's when I'm saying Puerto Rico. Yeah, sorry guys, I tried. So anyway, there just are getting to be less and less small, compact diesel generators on the market. So other than the one that I had, the Yamaha 7,000 watt that I had recommended, right now I did probably a good hour of Googling today to try to find what else is out there. A lot of them are on back order or not even available, but Generac, a company that I absolutely love, they do have the XD 5000. It's 5,000 running watts, but it costs $4,000 for a compact diesel, but the damn thing weighs 250 pounds. And if you want to add more to it, it's back ordered for 2 friggin' months right now. So it is, it's about the only small I can't even call it affordable, because that you could buy a ton of gas generators, but there are benefits to having a diesel generator. They're just getting harder and harder and harder to figure that out, because how can you justify buying a generator for the other benefits when you got to pay 4 times as much as a comparable generator in gasoline? To me, it's just getting harder and harder to say it might be worth it. Lucille von Kuckingstein says, smash the patriarchy over on TikTok. Good to have you. Always love people who are positive. Gideon asked me about you guys have seen the quick drive DeWalt screw gun that I have. Love that. Saved my back a ton. They want to know if you could also use it on drywall, because I've used it all summer on building a bunch of decks. Absolutely, you can. You can even take the extension piece out and use it with drywall screws for up close work. It's great. It's simple. Just make sure you buy the quick drive screws that are plastic collated. Chris Dixon says diesel is starting to phase itself out in small scale stuff. It is, and it's a shame, because it does have its benefits. Just one of those things that if there's not a demand for it, or the engines get too complicated, there's too many regulations that are required on it, all of that goes toward phasing it out. And you're going to see more people going toward natural gas and propane, of course, gasoline. But I think also you've got a lot of those, what they call solar generators, that are basically glorified battery packs. Those are a great option for some as well. And we have, hey, Kentucky said, my small military diesel generator is made to run 24/7. Just shut it down to change the oil and filters on it. And I was reading, he'd made a comment about that on one of the YouTube videos. I was going to share it, but I figured he'd drop in and let us know. I got to dig to see if we can find any of those in Canada, because somebody had mentioned $500 to $1,000 to buy those used at a military surplus auction. I mean, how could you go wrong? A generator on a trailer. Next was, this is from David Cheney, and he was watching my video on Gamma Seal lids and the bags that you put in them. He wanted to know what size Mylar bags do you use a 5-gallon bucket? And this is cool, because I didn't know when I first started either. Something that we get into sealing up food for the long term. And yeah, so I mean, this is going to sound funny, but if you go on Amazon and you're ready to order some of those bags, you can type in 5-gallon bucket Mylar bag and it'll work. But if you want to know the actual dimensions, 20 wide, 30 high, fit in a 5-gallon bucket perfectly. That'll allow you to fill it up to the proper limit, then push the air out and seal it. The 20 by 30s work great. So hopefully that helps. I'm going to do some more of that this winter. Becky and I did about half of our long-term food storage last winter. And yeah, we'll definitely do some follow-up on that. So this is the fun part of the show. I don't know if we'll call it fun, but if you guys follow me a while back, I had a video go viral on TikTok. So I got a ton of really good content there. I mean, I think we ended up with like 1.6 million views on that DeWalt battery. Now, you guys saw I brought back a bunch of Harbor Freight stuff from the U.S. I did a review on the Harbor Freight 3,000 watt inverter generator. And that video blew up on TikTok. Not quite as big, but we ended up getting like 250,000 views, which was really cool. Which means I got a shit ton of comments from the good to the bad to the asinine. So we're going to flip through a few of these here, guys. We're going to share. We're going to learn a little bit more about the generators. And I got to say, I was really surprised with the positivity of the comments on TikTok this time. It almost blew me out of the water. Okay. Kentucky said that it got an Onan brand engine on it, and Onan are really, really well built. Always. Yeah. Our heaters in our doghouse when I worked in the oil patch were made from Onan, and the heaters on our diesel rigs were also made from Onan. And they're a well-known brand. Hi, Bebop. Good to have you over on TikTok. So that video was on TikTok talking about that 3,000 watt generator. This user said, so I'm going to throw it out here to you guys. It's kind of a conversation, or if anybody's bought them before, and if Chicken Hawk listens to this on the recording, or if he's at work driving the forklift right now, I'd like to know his thoughts on it. But the extended warranty at Harbor Freight, is it worth it? There's entire Reddit threads that say that it's just an upsell farce and it's not worth a penny. But then there's a lot of people who say it's absolutely worth it for higher priced items. So I'm going to do some research. I'll definitely do a follow-up video on it, but I'd like to know what you guys think. But this user said, buy the extended warranty and you can get yourself a new generator every 2 years. Just buy the warranty for $185. Said, I run mine sub-zero ice fishing for days on end. Now, that seems like an unethical or a non-ethical life hack, but I wanted to share it with you anyway. This came from a user who used to work at Harbor Freight. They said, when I worked there, we weren't allowed to test anything being returned. If you have the protection plan, we just got you a new one. Another one said, same here. If the customer says it's broke with a question mark. So it sounds like they have a pretty liberal return policy, but I don't know about the cost versus the reward. And I'm not recommending that anybody takes advantage of that, but it may be worth it if you want that kind of peace of mind. This one came from Brandon Boozman. Now, here's the thing. I knew people liked the Harbor Freight generators, but holy cow, there were a ton of likes. I did a quick count, and I would say it was 20-1 people who said, I love the Harbor Freight generators, to those typical, it's a piece of shit, it's going to burn down your house, kill all your kids, and sue you for everything you have. You know, you get those, but about 20-1 positives. Brandon Booz says, had one for 3 years, cranks on second pull every time, never changed or added any oil yet. Don't be like Brandon, but still good to hear that it runs great every time. And then I'd mentioned about, it would have been nice if it had some Tennessee Texan Shiner, nice shirt, thank you. Not participating in the new normal from SOE Tactical, loved it. Good gift from my buddy John Willis. And Curtis Kingston, good to have you over there. So Jarrett Williams said, I made my own big wheel kit and handle, love mine. So it might be something to look at. Renegade Butcher says, I have a reciprocating saw, $12. I have to wash these things out from splitting meat. $12 for basic tool coverage on anything I can do to it. Oh, makes sense. Snail Creek says, keep lots of oil filters on hand. Nothing wrong with that. Always good advice anyway to have your kind of wore out, any parts that wear down, keep them on hand when you're working with generators. Epaulette says, we've had this one for a few years. Now this is where it gets cool. A lot of people chimed in and shared how many hours they've put on their Predator generator. Had this one for a few years and have hundreds of hours on it. It's a workhorse. We also have a smaller one and it's just as good. Devin Michael says 900 hours on mine. Jesus, I don't know how many years I'd have to have a generator put 900 hours on one. Anthony says, I have over 1,200 hours on my Predator so far. Crazy Shop says, I have 2 of these on my mobile tire shop truck, one with 2,900 hours. The other one has 600, but they're both still running good. How crazy is that? Tennessee Texan Shiner says, I made that shirt. I print John shirts. That's very cool. No, I love to hear that. We'll have to chat, Tennessee. Right on. Now, here's the craziest one. This one's from John Galt. 4,000 hours plus. All I do is remove the spark arrestor and clean it frequently. NGK spark plug for smoother running, and I enjoy. Love mine. 4,000 hours on a Honda knockoff generator. That's nothing to shake a stick at, guys. I'm sharing all this stuff because I'm really starting to think that the Harbor Freight generators are, I don't want to say a game changer, but I think they're really, really good for the cost of them. Absolutely. Wretched Happiness says, Harbor Freight is no joke. They have definitely upped their game. I'm hoping they start making tractors. I chuckled. I put that one in there because I thought that was kind of funny. Obviously, they would like to have an inexpensive, high-powered, good quality tractor. But I thought that was kind of funny. Kevin B says, after 90 days, if it breaks, go buy a new one. Put the old one in a box. Oh, dear. Return it. Get your cash. Said the minimum wage employee won't care it's broken. We're going to move on from that one. This one is from Who Is. They said, nothing touches Honda's engine or inverter technology. But that being said, Harbor Freight is really friggin' hard to beat for the money. That's what it comes down to. You get quality, you get power, you get well built, and you get inexpensive. Mike says, so here, this is where we slide into some alternatives. I was made aware of a generator that I didn't realize existed that is really good competition for my 3,000 watt inverter generator. My Predator said low-end Generac 3,500 is the same price plus a 3-year warranty for a much better unit. Then Carl Doby says Generac IQ 3500 generator is quieter, same price, and a 3-year warranty. So I was all ready to be a keyboard warrior and be like, bullshit, there's no way you can get a Generac for that cheap. But I did my due diligence. I looked it up. Sure enough, the Generac IQ 3500, same price, 3-year warranty. Not sure about it being quieter or not, but that is, I got to look into that generator. So if you guys are looking for, because I love Generac, they've always made really, really good ones. But yeah, so an alternative to Harbor Freight with a better quality, same price, better warranty, maybe something to look at. Steve P says, I prefer my Furman. I like my Furman too. Furman 3200 dual fuel from Costco. It's an inverter, can get it on sale for $699, but it peaks at 4,000 watts. Furman makes good generators. You guys know I've been using my tri-fuel for about 2 years now. And Dixon says a 4,000 hour Kubota knockoff tractor, that would be okay. Be nice if they had some knockoff tractors. So then here's some funny ones, guys. I shared these for you. I always love it. If you ever want to have some fun, take some time and dig yourself down into the comments on TikTok. And it seems like the further down you go, the more of a cesspool or just absolute nonsensical stuff you're going to find. But I know you guys always enjoy hearing them. So this one came from Chris Miesemeyer. He said, I don't care if Jesus recommended it himself. If it's from Harbor Freight and it has a motor, it won't last. Well, there's about 3,000 comments on this video that would like to disagree with you. But hey, I guess even if Jesus told you, you wouldn't listen. Warfighter says, it needs a remote start for us hungover guys that don't want to freeze their biscuits off in the morning. Catch up with Champion. They understand frozen biscuits. So if anybody's found, this is something else I was looking at or thinking about while I was putting this video together. If anybody's found a good remote starter for generators, I think that could be a real problem, but I would love to find one, an aftermarket one that I could install, test out, and see. Not sure if it's even feasible with generators, because that's one of those things that'd be really nice to know if it's actually properly running. And a lot of times when they're starting cold, they act up. But anyway, Matthew 1128 says, how long will it take to charge a Tesla? I'm not sure if that's a serious question or a joke. I'm going to guess it's a joke. I'm wondering if maybe they think I'm a tree hugger because I'm talking about generators. I don't really know. And then user 316-418-3956-564 said, that's like the TikTok saying how great Biden is. Ha ha. Because apparently comparing a Harbor Freight generator to a Honda generator is just like saying how much I love Joe Biden. I didn't know. Hey, score one for this Canuck, right? All right. Bobby Anderson says, you didn't answer original question, though. He said, blink fast if Harbor Freight is holding you hostage. I like that one. Tahir Jagat says, might be the best comment I got out of all. Hey, Jester, good to have you. Are you in the U.S.? No, I'm in Canada right now. Always good to have. Jester's joining us tonight. He's a podcaster from It's Doomsday Podcast 2.0. Check him out over on TikTok. Good guy. He had me on his show when I was down at Prepper Camp. So this Tahir, get this, guys. They said, who picked the brand name for Harbor Freight generators? It's terrible. I never thought about it till they mentioned it. But Predator, yeah, it's kind of got a, well, you use your imagination. I'm not going to talk about that tonight. Self-Reliance Expo tomorrow for Jester. Right on. Can't wait to hear about how that goes, bud. Butch, this one here. This, you guys know, as soon as I read this to you, you're going to know why it pisses me off. But it said made in Canada. Made in Canada. Here we go. Butch says made in China. So it's a hard pass for me. Why feed the enemy? Makes no sense. As they comment on a China-owned app, probably from a China-owned smartphone. I don't know. What's wrong with people? I don't get it. I mean, we all have to make our line, our line in the sand that we won't cross, but I just don't get it. If you can get something for relatively inexpensive and it's Chinese made, but it'll serve a purpose for you and you're happy with it, then don't shit on other people. And, if you want to jump out there and virtue signal because you're not buying from China, well, all the better. But I can promise you 85% of the stuff in your house has probably got made in China stamped on it, right? God will judge you. Just joined over on TikTok. Good to have you. Tennessee Texan Shiner, driving a car that's 99% made in China. Exactly. I'm not saying it's a good thing. Would I prefer everything to be made Yeah. Would I prefer everything to be made in North America? I think so, I guess. I don't know how that's necessarily possible, but anyway, I had to share that one. I don't even necessarily say, yeah. Anyway, let's move on. Bobby C says it's junk. Okay. ... I always like this. This is good here. Said the 3,000 watt Predator generator couldn't run my water heater or microwave without turning off the air conditioner on a 28-foot trailer. Absolute junk. Had to use my Honda 3000 instead. Apparently somebody there doesn't exactly understand electrical. Just saying. It's a pretty rare trailer camper that you can start up your air conditioner and run a water heater or microwave at the same time. One or the other. It's a 3,000 watt generator. What do you expect? You've got a 1,500 watt air conditioner that's going to spike to 2 or 3 times that when it starts. Not trying to be a dick. I'm just saying it's understandable that the 3,000 watt doesn't want to run both at the same time. Texas Shiner says, or just look up the amperage, right? Yeah. And he also said wearing a t-shirt made in China. And I am live right now. And Brian Norton just said, in case you need a smile, he just posted the picture of him in a giant man-sized Winnie the Pooh costume. Made me smile, made me chuckle. I had to share that with you. Okay, No Kook said, okay, now this one, guys, came from a different video, but I had to share it. If you guys have been following me lately, I've been doing some of those travel locks that you can take with you to hotels. Some have been good, some have been shit. Well, this one was on the shitty one. No Kooks. I mean, I hope you guys appreciate this one. So I test a lock on a hotel door and it works or it doesn't work. But their response is, why don't you just buy a vehicle that's like a camper, like a Mercedes Sprinter van, so you don't have to waste money on hotels or motels? That's like saying, well, since your car doesn't work, why don't you hire a personal chauffeur? Or I don't know. It just blows my mind. I'm sorry. I shouldn't even have dealt with these people tonight, but I thought you guys would really appreciate this. I was like, so the lock doesn't work. So instead of staying in a hotel that might be $100 or $150 a night, why don't you go buy a Mercedes Sprint van and live in a van? Okay. Pass. Jack. No, this was the best one. Talking about locks or protection devices in a hotel. And they said, I also carry a device that protects hotel rooms pretty well. Now, I can just picture him going, wink, wink, if you know what I mean. Personal protection device. I like that quite a bit. Tennessee says, I'm buying a Predator 9000 so I can run my well pump and most of the other stuff in the house. Caribou Hall 1102 just joined. Good to have you. So yeah, I thought you guys would really appreciate that. Yeah, so Chris Dixon also says, bitch, you know how many hotels I can pay for with a $120,000 Mercedes van? I'm just saying, you know. All it was I wanted people who stay in hotels a lot to feel a little secure with these cheap little made in China locks. Oh, there we are again, made in China. And I thought, hey, these would be great. But apparently I shouldn't stay in hotels. I should buy myself a van, a $100,000 van, and live in it. So now let's move on to Martinson family says, I miss living in a van. Of course, I was 19 then. I always had the joke, you know, I was a huge fan of Chris Farley back in the day. And if you guys remember his skits from Saturday Night Live, he'd come in, he's like, if you don't do better, you're going to live in a van down by a river. And that used to be considered a punishment or used to be considered poor. And now people on Instagram make an absolute killing living in a van down by a river. So I don't know. The world is weird. So I picked some of the boosts. If you guys follow me, you know, I love to support Fountain.fm. It's a podcast 2.0 platform. It's a place where users, listeners can support content creators. We can interact back and forth. We can tip each other with Bitcoin, Satoshis, whatever you want to call it. And I love some of the boosts that I get. So I picked 3 really good ones this week that I wanted to share from the community. This one came from @MiningHistory. They said, hey, thanks. It was a great episode. I especially liked the segment on prepping for probable local life disruptions. Also prepping for greater impact, much less probability end of the world disasters. This is the best part. I like this quite a bit here. I've personally lived through 3 major job layoffs, at least 6 major power outages of 3 days or more, one one divorce, one earthquake, and a couple of life-altering health events in my 66 years of life. But I have lived through exactly 0 EMP events in my lifetime. Being funny, of course, but I love that quote. You guys know that I'm a big fan of prepping for the most likely scenario to happen in your life. And of course, if you prep for all of those things, it's going to help you with all those other crazy things. But think about it. 3 layoffs, 6 major power outages, 1 divorce, an earthquake, and a couple of life-altering health events. All of those prepping has helped them through, but never had to be worried about an EMP. Let's move along. Next one came from Bernard. And this was a piece of advice I wanted to share with you guys because I learned from him. It says, if you have a dirty generator, yes, a UPS, that's an uninterruptible power supply, will help. But the ideal type of UPS you are looking for is called a double conversion UPS. These convert power to charge the battery and run all the computer stuff from the batteries. That means the power is 100% completely clean. I thought that was great. Always love learning something from other people. Always. Bitcoin Plus Food says, from my experience, 18 months of regular blogging about your passion will set up a business for life, or for as long as you want it to last. Literally built a national network with a keyboard. I taught participants how to write for Google, but not everyone is a writer, and a poor blog can be worse than no blog at all. I have semi-retired and freelance, offering SEO-friendly blogging services, and to complete the circle, we'll blog for SATs to fund our biodiversity renovation project here in the dry Mediterranean. I thought that was pretty cool. I just liked hearing that if a person is willing to commit to a 1.5 years of making content, and that's a long time. You know, we've talked about the 23andMe thing. This is a little longer than that, but if you can commit to 18 months, there's a good chance that you're going to be far enough in that you're going to say, hey, I can absolutely make a go at this. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to kick ass. I'm going to take names and I'm going to make some money. But I always love hearing from other people about their successes. So I just wanted to share that with you because I always love, first off, if you're willing to take the time and write a paragraph or a sentence or whatever and respond to me because I created content, hell yeah, I'm going to do my best to get back at you, back to you, whatever. I worked my way through today. I don't even know how many YouTube comments and boosts that I went through, but I think I spent about 2 hours responding to everything. It's getting to the point, guys, just so you know, I'm kind of taking a day a week to respond to a lot of that stuff, because otherwise, if I get down that rabbit hole in the middle of the week, I'm there, and all of a sudden, there goes an hour. So if I kind of link it with my prep time for shows, I can kind of make them both work together and hopefully not get too overwhelmed, because I always want to respond to absolutely everybody I can. So that was the end of the boosts that we had for this week. I kind of hope you enjoyed those. Those were fun. I was hoping I'd have a few more of the crazy TikToks. There just wasn't that many crazy TikTokers on there this time, but the channel's been really growing. That give you kind of a quick update over on the TikTok end of things. But so I put up that video. It was about the 3,000 watt Predator inverter generator. It ended up getting around 250,000 views, and I picked up around 1,300 new followers or subscribers from that. The channel itself just hit 100,000 likes, so that's kind of cool. It's been working. I got to get to the bottom of one problem, because normally I get a ton of, how do you want to put it? I get a ton of website traffic from TikTok, but this latest video, I got almost 0. And I found out that on mobile right now, and if anybody else wants to test it out for me, I'd love to see. But when I go to my account and my profile on TikTok and I click my website from there, it says an error. Can't figure it out. Doesn't do that from the desktop. The link works, but in any other URL I put in there works fine. But for some reason, my website's not working right now. Can't figure that out. Tennessee Texan Shiner says, I committed to making shirts for 18 months as a side hustle. Now I do it full time. Well, Tennessee Texas Shiner, you should send me a PM. I would love to have you on the show. I'd love to hear your story. And some Ne'er-do-well, fellow Canuck, who, boy, I don't know if I trust him. All he has is a wavy sign. Chris J. Dixon just joined the live stream over on TikTok. So I don't know. I think that might be spam. Might have to get rid of him. So like I said, guys, I got 8 or 9 days until I head to Texas. Getting kind of excited about that. And Renegade says, sounds like you need a premium itty bitty tips link like Brian has. Yes, we can work on that. I know I have something that I should probably use. Chris Dixon says I should watch out for that guy. I think he's one of those Bitcoin scammers. We've had a few of them around. We had one that tried to join the Telegram group today. Their name was 14. By the time I went to respond to them, they'd changed their name to 1. I don't know if it was some kind of countdown. Nothing blew up anyway. As far as what I've been up to this week, there's a ton that I've been doing. I'm going to touch on it. I'll give you kind of the weekly workshop on Saturday, but it's been fun. I had a great interview with Kayla from Tactical Response on Monday. And what else do we have come? Oh, and of course we have John Willis and Amanda, his wife, coming on the show on Sunday evening, which is kind of going to be our final Halloween episode. If you guys have any, some comments were filtered to protect the community's experience. Oh dear, who knows what just happened? I don't know. Excuse me, guys. But if anybody has any questions you want to throw up in the comments, I got a couple of more minutes. I can kind of answer them for you while we go along. I did have one from early on that actually the very first question of the day. Renegade Butcher says, what is your favorite maple syrup dish? And I know that is absolutely 100% serious question. So it is drinking it straight from the bottle an option? Because if it isn't, then I would have to say like maple glazed chicken would be really good. Just about anything. Since we're going to go down the serious rabbit hole here for a minute. Years ago, we did make, my wife and I, we had a few maple trees on our property. We tapped them. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I actually had an old-fashioned bit and brace, so I was able to hand drill my, properly, which was kind of cool. Here's the thing, guys. Do not boil maple syrup in the house. And if you do, don't do it on electric because it's going to cost you an arm and a leg. We spent a ton of time and way too much money boiling it down on an electric stove in the kitchen. But it was an experiment. I enjoyed it. It turned out pretty good. Renegade Butcher says, chugging it like a champ. And Tennessee Texan Shiner says, love Kayla. And he says, I'm dropping off new shirts to John on Monday. Cannot wait to see what they turn out like. Dixon says the interview with Kayla was amazing. It was awesome. We're going to have her back on in the new year. She's going to come on and talk about kind of the female mindset and self-defense and situational awareness from a female perspective, which would be pretty cool. And I believe I'm going to end up on their live stream at some point too, which would be kind of neat. Oh, I can never get serious questions. I love my audience and my community like crazy. Renegade Butcher, 100% serious question, wants to know, do they teach you how to make maple syrup in school there? Well, we did make maple candy before, where you take your maple syrup and you pour it out on snow. Chris Dixon says they don't teach us anything useful in school whatsoever. If you want to prove that, just walk into any Canada Post any day of the week and you'll see that's true. Oh, Tim, let it be, let it be, let it be. So they did teach us how to dry pumpkin seeds and make pemmican once, but that was about it. But yes, I don't know. Hard to say. They don't really teach us much of anything in the useful things. And, Tennessee Texan Shiner says I make TAC Response shirts as well. That's really cool. Tactical Response was one of the best experiences I've had in a long time. Slightly life-changing. Definitely worth it. And for those of you who are listening to this episode and you're like, what are they talking about? The interview with Kayla. So Kayla was on Monday on a live stream on the YouTube, everywhere in video form. But the audio won't be coming out until while I'm away. So I've got 5 episodes in the can. I've been doing, if you've noticed, I've been doing a bunch of extra interviews the last few days. And so yeah, I've been doing some extra interviews. They're going to be coming out as I'm gone because I want you guys to have good quality content. And I figured, hey, what better way? Interviews are pretty straightforward sometimes. Renegade says, I figured it would be an obligatory part of Canadian education. So Tennessee Texan Shiner wants to know, and yes, I'm going to answer this question. He said, this is over on TikTok, guys, said, is it true that they just made hand pews illegal in Canada? Yes, basically. So without me getting too mad or going down too far of a rabbit hole, if in Canada, we have two types of gun licenses. We have non-restricted and restricted. Non-restricted is any of your typical hunting rifles, shotguns, 22s, that kind of stuff. Okay. And you take a 1-day course, you wait a month or so, you get your thing, and then you can just go into any gun store and buy a long gun. No big deal. But handguns hand pews are what is called restricted. And you have to go and take another course and then wait weeks and weeks and weeks. And then anyway, it's a whole process. And all you can do is take your handguns to the local range and shoot and anything. So basically what they did, I worked really, really hard to get that license. I bought a few hand pews. I now own them. But what they did was they basically put a soft ban on them. So now what you own is what you own. Buying, selling, trading, no longer legal. So yeah. And I'm sure at some point they're going to end up saying, hey, time to buy them back. And I guess, well, horrible boating accident. It was a tragedy, but that's enough of that. And I'll just get myself in trouble if I keep going because it just pisses me off to no end. And you wonder why we are looking for land to spend a significant portion of our time south of the border. Yes. And Chris J. Dixon says, oh, snap. Canada Post is amazing. What a perfect corporation paid for our hard-earned taxed dollars. Yeah. So let's end on a positive note, guys. I want to hear from you guys this week. Share with me in the next couple of days something you've done to make your life better this week. Something that you've done to make yourself more prepared this month, whatever it happens to be. It could be something simple. It could be something difficult, whatever it is, something. You can share it in the comments, or you can email it to me at therealtimcook@gmail.com, or you can come and join the Telegram group, like I always say. And I want to hear something that you guys have done this week, this month, to make yourself a little more free or a little more prepared. Let me know, and we will share it on Saturday's episode. I'm excited. Always love to hear great things. And Renegade Butcher says, we're so cool down here, your geese even come to hang out for the winter. I love it. So guys, that's it for me this evening. Thank you. I know this was a little more kind of all over the place, but I love it. I always love these kind of bring it around community feedback. You guys end up making these episodes, so they're always a lot of fun. So where do we go from here? So if you guys are listening to this on Purple Broadcast Network, tomorrow will be The Strange Truth with Carl A.D. Brown. He kind of talks about the news stories that no one else is listening to with a framework of Christianity as well. Always a great time. Really good dude. Always shares good information with me. So remember, follow up on Purple Broadcast Network. Saturday evening, we have a show. I'm not sure what the topic's going to be yet, but there'll definitely be a weekly workshop roundup. Let you know what I've been up to, where I'm headed. Hey, maybe even Mrs. Toolman will drop in again. It's kind of been fun lately. And Sunday evening will be, of course, John and Amanda coming on to talk about all things Halloween. It's going to be a fun one. Talk about the urban exploring. If you follow Amanda on TikTok, she's always moving in or going in and exploring abandoned buildings and all of that stuff. I'm really I always love it. Whenever John and I talk, it always seems to run way too long. So it'll be great. And I just want to say thanks to Tennessee Texan Shiner over on TikTok. It was good to have you here. If TikTok keeps blowing up like this, guys, we'll keep going over there too. So that's it for me this week, guys. As always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week.